Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. So in the previous video we learned about loops. There I said like when we are using for loop, we'll take a basket and pull all the item one by one from the basket. Today we'll be learning about that basket. So that basket, if you go in the language of Python, it's called list. So what is a list? A list is like a basket where you can put different type of things. So if you have gone through C or C++, you may be knowing something of array. This is similar like array, but it's not array. Since you know in an array we can put only same type of thing. Like if you're putting integer, all of them should be integer. But in list you can put different. You can put integer, string all together. So I can say that list is like a basket where you can put anything. You can put fruits, vegetables, clothes, anything in the basket. So that is what list is. In Python, list looks similar like how an array looks, right? So if I say list, let's say name is an array, so it looks similar like how it looks in an array. So how do we define it? We define it this way. So it's in square braces. So square braces still this is a list, and inside the list we can put different items. Like here we put 1 2 3 4 5. That is how a list is. And now if I print this, we can do print of arr, and now if I run this python 05, so this is the 5th lecture. So if you haven't gone through the previous one, go through this one by one, 0 1 2 3 4 5, so that you can understand better way. Since you have gone through from absolute beginner course, so it's better to understand how this works. So now if I print this, you can see we get 1 2 3 4 5. Now in the first class I had said that if you want to know what is the type, you can write type. So we can write print type of arr, and this should give you a list. Now if I run this, you can see this is a class of list. So that is what a list is. So it's like a basket where you can put different things. Like if I want, I can put here also we can say let's code together. So now you can see this is a string, right? So this is a string, but these are number. Still we can put in the list. This it's not possible when you use an array, because array is in homogeneous and this is heterogeneous. What homogeneous means, every data type should be of the same, but in heterogeneous you can put different type of data type. Now when you run this, you see there is no any complaint that this is a string, this is an integer. You can put anything what you want, and still it's a type of list. So that is what a list is. Now let's go to the second one, that is accessing and appending. Now suppose you have a list, okay, you understood what a list is, right? It's like a basket where you can put different type of things. Now in a list, in a basket, now if you wanted, suppose it's arranged in a line, okay, so there are different fruits in a line. Now you wanted to pick up the fifth element, fifth of fruit. So how will you pick up? You'll go to the fifth one by one, you'll count 1 2 3 4 5, and the fifth one you'll pick up. So that all you can do in Python using the accessing behavior. So how do we access that? So for accessing, you need the name of the list, okay, so this is the name of the list. Then you put square braces and put the number here. So while defining, you do assigning, right? So and when you wanted to get a number, you just put a square braces and put the index. And remember, index starts from 0, okay? So if I go here, this will be 0, this will be 1 2 3 4, and this should be 5. So the indexing starts at 0. What does indexing means? Indexing means the position. What is the position of 1 in a list called array? So the position will be 1. So now if you wanted to index the fifth one, you cannot put 5. Why? If you see, this is since it starts from 0, right? 0 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, if not 5, I'm saying 6. So you can't put 6. Why? Because 6 will go out of this, right? And we don't have access outside. What happens if you do this is, let me show you. If I do a print of this statement, okay, if I do print of arr6, see, we'll get an error, index error. So when we're doing error handling, then we'll go through this error, but you can see list index out of range. What does that mean? Since the length of this list is only 5, right, we cannot print the 6th element, since this will go outside of it. Now if you want to do the first element, then you can do 0. So when you do 0, right, now what should get printed? This 1 should get printed. Let's see if that gets printed. You can see the 1 got printed here. So now if you wanted to print the second one, so you can do print. So let's put in an F statement. The second element is ARR of 1. So the second element is this. Now if I save and run this, you can see the second element is 2, and if you see it's 2 here. Now what happens if you wanted to print the last element? Suppose you want the last element. So now we don't know what is the size. Suppose we don't know, we can know what is the size, but suppose you think we don't know what is the size of this list. So how do you print that? To print the last one, what we can do? We can do print. Let's put an F string. The last element is. So in a list, right, we call this as an element. You can call it an item or anything, but in a programming way, we call this as the element of a list. So we can say the last element is, you can add ARR and put a -1. So 1 means the second one, but if you put -1, it will tell Python to print the last one. So you can do -1 here. And if you run this, you can see the second element is 2, correct? And the last element is let's code together. Is it correct? Yes. So if you wanted to print the last element from the last, then you can use -1. Now if you want to put last second, you can either go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 here, or you can do -2. Let's do it -2 way. The second last element is, if you do -2 and run this, you can see the second last element is 5, and here you can see that is 5. So that is how you can do the accessing part. Now the accessing is done. Now you wanted to put a new element in this list. Suppose there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go together. Now you want to put one more element called 0 or 6. Suppose we want 6. So how do we do that? Now let's put here the accessing. So we can write accessing. So this is how you access. Now if you want to do insert, okay, or append, you wanted to put one number after in the end of the list. So how do you do that? So in Python you can call the number, call the array or the list ARR. ARR is the name of our list, okay, and you can do something called append, APPEND. So what this append does, so this is a function. We'll be learning what function is in the later part, but know that this is a function that is defined with a list that tells whatever the number you put here, right? Suppose 6, this will be added to the end of this list. So the end of the list is let's go together. So it will put a comma here and add the number here. So whatever the new one, right, the new, that 6 will be added after this. So let's see if this got added. Now let's print out so that we know the new list. What happened? The new list is okay. Now let's run this. You can see the new list is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go together, but the end there is 6. But if you see here, there is no 6, right? Why? Because we appended this. So when you append, then the number that you said or the element that you want, you can just put here, and this will put it to the end of this list. But suppose you don't want to put it in the end of the list. So you want that before 1, there should be one more element called 0. How do you do that? So you can do something like ARR dot insert. After insert, you put the position. So the first position is 0 and the number should be 100. So now if you print out this, save it. But now if I run this, you can see the 100 got printed before 1. Earlier it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now it's 100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you wanted to add in a particular numbering, right, in particular position, then you can use insert. But if you wanted to add it to the end of a list, then you can use append. So as I said, the indexing starts from 0. So the counting will start from 0th position. So this is how you can insert or append to a list. Now you know how to remove. So now you know how to add, but how do we even remove it? Suppose we want that it should not be 100. We want to remove this 100, or we want to remove this 6. First let's remove this 6, then I'll tell you how you can remove this 100. Okay, we can use the property called pop. So what pop does is it will just remove an element from the last if you don't pass any argument. So let's see ARR dot pop. So now if you print after pop and you print the array, let's run this. You can see for the first one, right, before we did any pop operation, there was a 6 at the end. After let's code together, there is 6, but after pop, if you see, the last element got removed. How did it happen? This happened using of this function called pop. How we did append, right? The append added a new element at the end of the list, so pop removes the last element of the list. But what if you wanted to remove this 100? So this is at the 0th position. As I already said you, our positioning starts from 0. So if you wanted to remove this 100, it's similar like how pop works, but by default it passes the last element, that is -1. But if you wanted to remove the first element, you can just pass the index. Since 0 is the first index, so now if you print ARR, you can see the 100 got removed. So after pop, the first pop, 6 got removed, but for the second time, if you see, the 100 got removed, not the let's code together. Why? Because we pass an index called 0. So that is how you can remove an element from a list. So now we know and accessing, we know how to append, we know how to remove. Now let's come to one more thing called slicing. So in list, there is a method called slicing where you can get a list. From a list, you want a particular range of elements. Suppose you say there is a line of fruits and vegetables, but you wanted the vegetable that are from the 5th vegetable to the 6th vegetable. Means you want only one vegetable that is in the position 5th, between 5th and 6th. So if you want that, that is where slicing becomes very useful. So now let's see what slicing is. Suppose you wanted, so this is a list, right? You 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now you wanted all the elements that are between first index, this one, and the last index, that is you wanted 3 4 5. So how do you get it? For the slicing, the method is similar way how you do indexing. So you put in square braces, then you put a number. Suppose this is the first index, so you put 1. Okay, you want the 2, this 2 you want 2. Now up to where? Up to this last one. So you can say you put colon. Colon means this is a range of what the elements we wanted to get. So and what is the let's code together element index? It's 0 1 2 3 4 5. So you say 5. So how this slicing works is, it's the name of list, start, and here start is included, not end. So how this works is, you put the name of the list, start, and the end. Here the element in the start, right, like we put 1 here, this will be included, but the 5th one that we said, the 5th one won't be excluded. This is excluded. So now let's print this out. It's a new list equal this. Now if you print this new list, let's comment this out. If you see, the new list is 2 3 4 5. The let's code together also did not come, 1 also did not come. Why? Because if you see, we wanted from the 1 index to 5th index, and if you see, 1 index is 2 and the 5th index is let's code together. As we know, the start index will be counted, but the last index won't be counted. So that's why 2 got included, but let's code together did not get included. Now what if you wanted, like you want a start position, and from the back of it I want everything after this. So if you want that way, then you can say after 1, suppose this is the name, and you can do here ARR 1, and don't put anything behind this colon. If you don't put anything behind this colon, it will say Python that whatever is after 1 include everything. Now if you run this and save and run this, you see everything got printed, 2 3 4 5, even let's code together. But in the previous one, let's code together did not come because we exclusively said 5 should not be coming, since the end is always excluded. So if you want everything behind the index that you write, then just don't put anything after this. Okay, then that will tell the Python that everything what comes after this index, everything should get printed. Now there is one more thing. So how this slicing works is, like I said here, right, it's a start, and there is also something called step. So if you say list, start, and step. Now if you wanted that suppose this is a new list. So this is the list 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, you want only the only the position that are even. So the 0, you want 0th position, you don't want this 1, you want this 2, then you want this 5. So you want that you should be missing one element in the middle. So how do you do that? There you can provide this some property called step. So what step does is, so whatever you pass in the step, right, it will just exclude that number of element. By default 1 is there, that's why all elements comes together. But if you pass 2, right, so after this 1 it won't say 2, but it will directly come to 3 because it's stepping 2 position at the same time. So it's jumping 2 times, whereas in the slicing it jumps only 1 step at a time. So let's see how that works. So let's do here print arr everything from 0 up to end, and it should jump 2 position at a time. So here if you see there are double colon, what does this mean is, after, if I said, right, if you don't pass anything, that means all. So here also it says after 0 everything, in the step it said 2, that means go through all the elements in a list but jump, take 2 position at a time. So let's run this so you can see it in a better way. Just not saved, I guess. So let's run it one more time. Okay, I did not close the bracket, so let's run it one more time. Yeah, if you see now only 1 3 and 5 got printed. It's becoming a little bit confusing, so let's print the element before here also, so what the array is, and let's comment all of them out. Okay, we are commenting all this out so that there is no confusion. You can see what we are exclusively talking about. So if you see, this was the list 1 2 3 4 5 6. Let's go together. But what we did here, we wanted all the element, but we wanted to miss one element in the middle. So you see, first 1 got printed, 2 got missed out, 3 got printed, then 4 got missed out, 5 got printed, and 6, this one got removed. But there is, since there are no element, so only this 1 3 5 got printed. So that is how the stepping works. Now there's a very interesting case here. So what if, suppose you wanted to do in the reverse order, okay, this 1 2 3 4 5 6, and you wanted let's go together should be coming first, then 5 4 3 2 1. So doing this in other programming languages is a little bit tougher way, since we need to know how reversing works. But using this slicing, right, it becomes very easy. So let me show you. So you can write print arr, and you can put, if you don't put anything, right, suppose if you don't put a start position also and an end position also, this is the end, okay, this is end, this is start, and this is step. Okay, now suppose you don't, if you don't put even the start, you don't put start, you don't put end, then what happens, it takes 0 to all, like what we did here, like 0 to all. If you don't even put here 0, right, it will work the same way. In the step now, if you say -1, now I've already said you, if you want to index the last element, we put -1. So what will this say? Go from starting to end, but take the order in reverse. Since we put -1, right, so it will count from the backward. So let me show you. If I run this, if you see, first let's go together came, then 5 4 3 2 1. So it reversed the list itself. So this is a very useful and very important thing. So let me put here, very important. So this becomes very useful when you learn Python and someone will ask for small things, right? So these are some things that Python provides and makes your life easier. So you should know this slicing, and mainly this how you can reverse a list without using any different type of function, just using the listing way. So that is what slicing is. So I hope you understood it. So there are 3 things to know. You need the name of the list, the start position, end position, and the last is the step. So step you won't need all the time, but if you need it, step just to how many steps should it miss out before going to the next element. So if by default it's 1, that's why it does not miss any element when it prints out. But if you wanted to miss the 1 element, you can put 2. If you want to miss 3 elements, you can put 3. So that is how slicing works. Now we'll come to the important topic that we said in the yesterday's class, right? So let me go to the yesterday's. So we said, like, for letter in string, where this string is a basket and this letter are just one element from that basket, like one item at a time. It goes through basket. Now this will make more sense in a list. Now we know this ARR. This is itself a list, right? This is a basket. Now we wanted to know all the element that is in this basket. So now we can use for loop here. So you can add for element in ARR. So you already know what this syntax means. I've already said how for loop works. So ARR is a basket here. So let's redefine ARR once again. Or let's copy this, comment this out here, but bring it back here so that it looks cleaner and you know what we are doing. So here, now this is a basket, right? So when we do for loop, we'll be going through each of the element in this basket. So it's got for element in this array, print the element. So if you do print element and run this, see, we get 1 2 3 4 5. Then let's go together. So now this will make more sense than what we did in the previous in the string, right? Since in a string it looks like they're one thing, but here we know this is not one thing. This is a basket. Inside the basket there are these many things. These are the numbers, there is string and all this. So this is how for loop works, and for loop will make more sense in a list, because we know a basket means there will be many things in a basket. So going through the element one by one makes more sense, since it's a looping. We are going through one after one all the things in a basket. So that is how you can use for loop in a list. So you can construct a different type of list and you can go over them one by one. So there is also one more thing when you use for loop. There is something called range. So how range works is, range is like, it's a function that will give you a list of items. So it will give an iterative list of things, like how we got these things, right? How we got all of them. So range is like a function that will give you by default. So if I do range of 10, I do x equals to range of 10 and print this. This is an iterative list. So if you see how this become very useful using for loop is, suppose we write here for number in range 10. So what this will do is, it will go through each of number that are in the range 0 to 10, where the 10 is not included. So now if I print this number, right, let's comment this out also and save and run this. You can see we get all the number from 0 to 9. So what this range in the background does is, it forms like a list where it gives you a range of numbers that you include here. So if you say 10, it will include from 0 to 9. But this range also has same property like how we did in slicing, right? This range also has like something called start end. Okay, start end, and it has the step also. So similarly how we did for slicing, the range also has this property. Now suppose we can say 0 to 10, and how many steps should it miss? It should miss 2 steps. So now if I run this, and see here 0 2 4 6 8, it did not print the middle element, that is 1 and 1 3 5 7 9. Why? Because we are saying it to miss 2 steps at a time. So what does 2 step mean? Just like slicing, right? It will just remove the second element and it will print the third element. It will go off, it will jump 2 steps at a time, like how this slicing we did right here, where we said missed out 2 elements at a time. This is how range is very useful. Okay, every time whenever you do looping, most of the time you'll be using range. Just understand a simple word that range give you a list of numbers. So whatever the numbers you provide, if you provide just start, if you provide only one number, it will go up to that, up to 1 below that. So if you do 10, it will go up to 9. But if you provide starting position and position in the step, then it will behave how you wanted it to behave. So that is how range works, and that is how you can do for loop in a list. So there is also one more thing called multi-dimension. Like, oh, now let's go to another part called sort and reverse. And don't think that I will just skip this part. We will be going through multi-dimensional array or multi-dimensional list later part of the videos when we learn exclusively about metrics. Okay, that will be very useful. Now let's learn 2 more property, reverse and sort. So what sorting does is sorting in ascending or descending order, and reverse we have already learned what a reverse means. Suppose if its list is in 1 2 3 4 5 6, we want it to go in a reverse order like 6 4 5 2. We have already done this using the slicing, if you remember. So we have used the -1 property in slicing to reverse it. So how we can do this? Let's put it in the list. Let's print this list here one more time, and we can do print arr of reverse. What reverse does is it will just reverse the order that the list is in. Now if you run this, you can see it was 1 2 3 4 5, let's go together, but now it's let's go together 5 4 3 2 1. Similarly, if you want to sort it, you can just write arr dot sort, print this, and it says it cannot support this instance of int. So when you wanted to sort it, you should be defining like it should be in a homogeneous way, like all the elements should be in the same way. So for sorting, what we can do is we can write nums equal 2 3 6 8 0. So this is not sorted. So now if you print this nums dot sort and print the nums and run this, you can see it printed in 0 2 3 6 8. So it will sort the number in ascending order. Now if you want descending order, you can just put reverse equals true, and this will put in the descending order. Now if you run this, you can see it's 86320. So that was it about sort and reverse. I hope you understood about list. This is a very long topic, but let's recap it once again. What is a list? It's a basket of things where you can put different type of items. It can be integer, float, numbers, and strings, and all of this in a list. And how do you access this? You can use access using the square braces where you put the index. An index starts with 0. And if you want to put the last element, you can put -1. So the negative of any number, it starts from backward. And how do you append? So there are two ways you can append. You can append calling the append that will put the element in the last end of the list. And if you want to put in a particular index, you can use insert. So let's start uncommenting what we already learned. Uncomment this, uncomment this. That is how you insert. And what this pop does is pop is like how you can remove. If you want to remove the last element, don't pass anything to pop and it will remove the last element. But if you wanted to remove a particular index, then you can pass pop of the index. It will remove the index from that element. Then we come to slicing. Slicing is getting a range of list from a list. Like if you wanted a particular range from a list, then you can use slicing. So how the slicing is, so it takes start, end, and step. The start element is included, but the end element is not included. And the step is how many steps should it miss before going to the next element. By default, it goes 1, that is you got all the element in the list. If you put 2, then you'll be getting all the element missing one element in the bit. And if you don't put the end position, it will take all the element after the index that you provided in the start. And similarly, if you want to reverse, you can print all the element, just put the reverse at the step, right? Just make it -1 so the counting starts from backward. Then you can use for loop in array like we already learned in the previous one. So for using for loop in array, just use for the element in the list. Here the list is an ARR, so it will go through element one by one. Similarly, if you wanted to go through you don't want to create a list but want to go through a list of numbers, then you can use a function called range. How range work is you put same like slicing, you put start and then step. So it will start from this position, it will go one below this end, and the step that whatever you provide, by default it's 1, that's why it does not leave any element. It starts from 0 and go up to the end element. This comes very useful when we wanted to go through a list without creating through a list, and we won't know that list is a number from 0 up to that number. Then there are two more functions that we learn, that is sort and reverse. How you can sort it on descending or ascending order, and how you can reverse. Though we can provide reverse through slicing, but you can also use the function called reverse where we can reverse the array. So that was it for list. I hope you understood something new. So now since we already pushed it, let's push it to GitHub. So let's see what are the element we got. So we see for loops is modified, and then we have a new call 5 list. Let's add all of them. Git add all, git commit lists, and It did not work properly. So git list. Path spec list did not match any files known to git. Okay. We did not put -m since this list is a message. So -m. Now we can put get push origin main. It got pushed. Now let's see if we got it on GitHub. We got loops list. So yes, everything is on GitHub. So yeah, that was it for today. I hope you understood something. If you're liking the playlist, you can just save the playlist in a library and come back for the next chapter. We'll be learning about dictionary, tuples, sets in the upcoming classes. So yeah, that's for today. Thank you for watching. See you in the next.